TikTok, it's time to rock.
Does that bring back some memories or what?
One of the best intros ever. One of the best rock and roll intros in my life. It's hard to beat. As usual, my friends, it's the 5150 show crew here on our fortnightly show. My name is Andrew, all the way from New Zealand. We have on the top rung
Kurt Snyder, all the way from the United States of America, hailing from Yakima, Washington, which, as some of you may know, is the crotch of Washington. And we're on the tail end of summer here, and I kind of wish it was winter, but I know you guys are wanting to get out of winter. So down in Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne, Australia, Victoria. Hi, everyone in the chat. We're coming into spring, so it's a bit chilly, but we've got a little bit more sunshine now, and I sat out in the backyard today for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It felt really good to get some sunshine. Quite
good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you, bro.
How about yourself, Andrew? In happy New Zealand there. You guys are in a happy place there in your little lockdown mode as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, look, as usual, guys, it's always a pleasure. It's always something to look forward to, hanging out with you guys. Brad and I have been doing a couple of marathon shows the last couple of days. So, and we've got another show tomorrow. So, so we're taking use of all this time that we've been given, and it's really, really great to hang out with some awesome guys. The Rev, especially having the Rev here for this particular show. It's going to be a channel highlight. It's going to be one for the ages. I know it. I can feel it, and I've seen the Rev study notes. It's about 10 pages, so buckle in, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Brad's going to do something really, really important for the show. He's going to do something for a very good friend of ours. We're going to do this for a while, so it's really important. And then the Rev will do the usual shout-outs, and then we're going to talk.
Yeah, well, we're going to dedicate this show to our good friend Warren, who's a marvelous friend of the channel, contributes in so many ways. We thank you. Our gratitude is beyond what we can express in words, and we're just sending you all the warmest thoughts and prayers your way, brother, while you're in hospital, and speedy recovery. And we can't wait to have you back in the chat, being the cheeky devil you are.
Awesome.
Yeah, Warren. Special shout out to Warren. My wife's on a prayer team here at our church locally, and I gave his name to her, and so she has put his name in. And as don't want to get too religious, but the power of prayer, the more the merrier. And Warren, we're shouting good vibes for you, brother. So smooth healing.
Yeah, definitely. So you want to do a bit of a roll call there, Kurt? You want to go through the chat and see who's there?
Yeah, we got a lot of special people in the chat, a lot of regulars, but we want to shout out to everyone that's joining us tonight and today. So first off, we have our buddy, our marketing genius, our artiste extraordinaire, Cobra Kai Platoon. Cobra Kai, thank you for joining. I know Cobra Kai just barely moved over the last week or two, so life's hectic, and he's probably taking some time to relax. Just got the internet going, and he's watching the 5150 show. So appreciate it, Cobra Kai. We got Draco Vite. Hope I pronounced that correctly. We got Ellen, of course. Ellen, thank you for always joining. Appreciate it. And becoming a rat bag himself and a regular, Keith Campbell. Keith, thank you so much for always being on the show, becoming a regular. Appreciate it, man. We got Clytu Badera Nicotio. I totally butchered that, but thank you for joining. Also, another family member of the channel, Mark Tanner. We got Metal Mike 5150 all the way from New Jersey. Thank you, Mike. Nelson Rodriguez, another family member of the 5150 show. We got Tim Thomas as well, and Sean Zimmerman coming in lately. And then chopping in right now, Caleb Rappaport from Nerd Halen. Caleb, thanks for jumping in.
Yeah. Hey, Caleb. How are you, mate? And so today, what we're talking about is right here, right now. Yeah.
I found my CD that I've had since '93, and man, this thing's beat up.
Show off. Here,
but
look at this lady. Oh,
I can't find the booklet. So I'm gonna have to get in YouTube or to eBay and find another booklet. But I bought this CD the day before a family trip when my dad rented a motorhome and drove us down to Utah. Man, this thing, it's been through a lot. 93, I was...
Kurt, it's a family show. It's a family show.
93, I was 14, 15 years old when this came out. And if you guys think back to albums prior to being old enough to drive, like these are pivotal albums. And then, of course, the DVD, man. Like, I had the VHS, and then I went out and bought the DVD, and I have yet to open it. It's still sealed.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
hey, Johnny B.
Big album for sure.
Yeah.
Especially considering it was a step up to Live Without a Net, because it came with the 2-disc set, which Live Without a Net was video only. And to have this thing come out on a two CD or two, did it come out in tapes back then? Probably still did, right?
Yeah, I had it on cassette tape.
Oh,
That's
you did?
The first format that I bought it on was a cassette tape. Yep.
Yeah, to have that on audio was just like mind blowing, especially considering the band we're talking to that didn't do a whole lot of live content.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right, and I think we'll probably talk about that during the course of the show. You know, there's a few facts, obviously, Rev, that came out after the fact, you know, that we didn't know at the time in 90. When was this released, Brad? 92, 93, around
93.
then?
93.
Yeah. So did you line up in the record shop to get it, Brad, or did you steal a copy from one of your mates?
No, well, obviously, Carnal Knowledge, as I've alluded to in the past, was the first actual Van Halen album that I went and got on the day it was released. So this was the next thing, obviously, you know, lined up for this one. Got it on VHS, got the CD, and obviously later, as time went on, I bought it on DVD as well. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's
Bent Tom in the chat too, guys. Hey, Bent.
Hey, Bent.
And to we got Steve-O 5150. I want to give a big shout out to Steve-O. He's a big proponent of the channel. He's recently, since we do these shows every fortnight, Steve's always willing to promote the show. He just did a cool little shout out to this show tonight on his Instagram. So Steve, thank you so much for the support. And Steve just sent me a couple welded eye hooks for my next guitar. So big shout out to Steve for sharing the wealth and always promoting the channel. So thank you.
Awesome, brother. Awesome, brother. That's a good thing. And if anybody wants us, if the Rev and Brad and I can help you guys with anything that you're doing, just message us and we'll tag anything on any shows that we do for anybody. We're here to help you guys as well.
Yeah. And Andrew, I just ordered some, finally I got some 5150 show picks coming. The last set I ordered through D'Addario got copyright tagged, so they canceled my order because I had the Van Halen logo on the backside. But this one is got our friend Eddie Van Halen jumping in the air with the 5150, wearing the teal blue baggy pants on one side, and the other side they're going to say the 5150 show. So once those picks come out, we'll start sending them out to people, whether they answer a trivia question during the show or do something cool like Steve-O promote the show on his Instagram. We'll use the pics to send out to some of the folks in the chat that enjoy the content.
Awesome. So no pink pants. No pink pants.
No, I didn't want to go down that road to where you would show it on national TV.
So the pics are essentially like a VIP exclusive thing, Kurt. That's what you're saying. Hold on, brother. Hold on.
Yeah. It looked like this on one side, and then the other side will say the 5150 show. It's a little blurry because I zoomed in on the order, but yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool to get those going.
Can't you make them pink?
I hope I get one.
Yeah, you'll be getting some. So I'm going to send you guys both a bundle that you can send off to some of the folks in your area. But yeah, we'll use them for promotion.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for your generosity. And that's one of the great things here that we like to do on the show is, that sharing aspect of what we do is really, really good. Appreciate it. Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Nerd Halen wants one. He'll probably get one because I know his Nerd Halen pick was one of the first picks to ever touch ground in New Zealand a few years ago. And Andrew still to this day has his pick on his guitar.
Yeah,
so on that baby there.
Bit of a shout out to Caleb and Nerd Halen. They've got some new merch, so go across and have a look at their merch store. Go to Nerd Halen. I'm not sure what the website is, but
nerdhalen.com.
That's it.
Yep.
I couldn't remember off it, but yeah, go across there and check it out. Got some cool shirts and all that stuff. So I'm eyeing them off. They look great.
Well, if Caleb wants us to attach that website to this show to help in any way, just say yes in the chat, Caleb, because that's the least we can do. That's the honest to God, it's the least we can do for anybody. But before the Rev dives deep and takes over the show, I just want to hear what Brad has to say. Then I'm going to offer a couple of words, guys, about the recording and or the VHS. And as usual, you guys in the chat need to put your thoughts and we'll fire them up and we'll recognize them during the course of the show. But Brad, tell us about Right Here, Right Now.
Right Here, Right Now for me was like a lot of people's Live Without a Net. I spent hours upon hours upon hours just watching it over and over and over. Absolutely loved that Carnal Knowledge era of Van Halen, still do. And to hear all those songs live in the content it was really special for me because, as we've alluded to in the past here in Australia, we got limited snippets of things of Van Halen. It was very limited. We weren't blessed with having them tour here. So it was almost like that little bit of my little closeness to Van Halen to actually put it on and be part of like that gig. Like the two shows, obviously, we know we're going to deep dive into all that in a second. But obviously at the time, I knew nothing about anything to do with the mixing, the re-recording, anything like that. I just thought it was what it was, and I still love it regardless of anything. It's such a powerful DVD to me. Represents the band. Seeing Ed play the Music Man, hearing all those songs from Carnal Knowledge, magical for me. It's I watched it again this morning as I was doing a bit of housework. I had it on the background, and still gives me goosebumps. You know, hearing like Judgment Day and all those songs, Spanked, and wow, Andrew.
Mate, I loved it. I'm just going to narrow it down to a couple of things. Believe it or not, I loved it because it was the first time I can remember in my mind where I saw the ernieball musicman.
Yeah.
It was the first time, and as Brad said, you know, you guys in North America were lucky to be drenched in all this Van Halen-ness, all these video programs and radios.
MTV.
And
yeah.
You guys were just drenched in it, and Brad and I, we didn't even get crumbs down here, you know. So you know, your dogs under your tables got more than what we got as Van Halen fans. So the fact that we worshipped at the church of this DVD or VHS, as Caleb said on a couple of shows here with us, it became a religion.
Yeah.
And it did, because we would watch this religiously with our friends, with, you know, by ourselves, because that was the closest we could get to you know, this guy called Eddie Van Halen. And we're going to keep talking about that like this, because we're those fans. That's all I'll ever be. I'll always be that kind of fan. So getting that DVD, that VHS, and watching that and seeing this guitar, going, that's not that striped guitar. What's going on here? And it was a little bit shorter. And, wow, you know, and it looked nice. It looked like a Ferrari. You know, it didn't look like this backyard job that we'd seen Eddie with for so long. You know, it just looked. I fell in love with it.
Skimmed across the parking lot in Neptune, New Jersey.
And shit, don't get me wrong. You know, we all love the 5150, don't we? Jeepers, our show's named after it. But to see that ernieball musicman, that gold top, just took us. And So for me, Kurt, for me, Brad, and everyone in the chat, I loved it because of that. So we're going to sit back and we're going to be mesmerized and hypnotized by this deep dive that the Rev specializes in. And as usual, if you guys have any questions for the Rev, we'll try and get to them.
Yeah. And I don't want to bore you guys with a bunch of useless information, but I think this this DVD and this CD doesn't get the credit that it deserves. We talked a little bit in the green room about this, but to me, I wasn't a big fan of live albums or live CDs or live VHSs because they had a lot of high crowd noise. Some of the content wasn't that good, and you had to catch everything at one time, and it had to be perfect, and usually it wasn't that perfect. And my thought is, if you wanted to catch a live show, you went and caught a live show. But if you couldn't catch a live show, you had things like this that could give you that live experience the best way that it could. Because when you see something live, there's no way you can catch the bass drum pounding you in the chest and Eddie's guitar echoing through the amphitheater or the arena that you're in. Seeing the band on stage, hearing the crowd, like those things are things that you can't get on a CD or get on a DVD. But I think Van Halen were trying to help out the people that maybe had never seen them live or maybe didn't catch this tour. So a lot of people give them flack about the fact that they went back into the studio and they doctored it up and they remastered it, they re-recorded it. I mean, they were looking for excellence. So I think it's okay that they did that. It wasn't a fact that they were trying to hide anything. I think they were just trying to give the people that had never seen them live. You know, you got people like Fruitcake Tony who's seen them 40-some times, where a DVD like this isn't going to do justice because he's seen every variation of Van Halen. So for me, I think the purpose of it was to, one, sell some records, make some money. There's some other stuff behind it, which I'll get into in a second. But two, give those people an opportunity to get a little snippet of what Van Halen is live. either through your stereo or through your, back in 93 was one of those big screen TVs that sat on the ground that took 3 movers to bring in and out. But the biggest thing for me in 93 is, I think, guys, this was the beginning of the turmoil with the band. A lot of people contribute balance as being the start of the band starting to split apart. But actually, I believe it was during the process of producing this album. And if you guys have read Sammy Hagar's book, Red, he talks about how pissed off he was when he had to go back in the studio, re-record those tracks. There were issues on the road when they were promoting this album that, there was a point where Ed Leffler, their manager, collapsed after a show because the band was fighting and there was issues, and Sammy took off. Ed Leffler collapsed during his, health issues he was going through. So this was the start of the band turmoil that Van Halen was having. And I'm not going to discredit this DVD or this album because of that. But, truly, if you're a big fan, you want to know the whole story or hear the whole story, right?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of the fact that the turmoil kind of started 92, 93 time? Would you agree?
Well, yeah. Just going back to re-recording stuff, and I think Simon Hosford alluded to this, pretty much every band that releases a live record go in and fix things up. It's whether it's a minute thing or it's a massive thing, and it's almost mandatory. I don't know of really too many bands that have just released a live performance without fixing it or doctoring it in some way. Right. So to give Van Halen slack for that is, well, you might as well give every band slack for that, because under my knowledge and other people like Simon Hosford, who's a very knowledgeable guy, people go back and fix things, whether it's editing or re-recording something or pitch shifting something to fix it, especially in this day and age with, the technology we've got with plugins and Pro Tools and all the different things you can do to songs and the different things you can do to recordings. Pretty much everyone gets from a live gig when they're doing a live record or whatever, they put it all in Pro Tools and they fix it. That's not what you're hearing at the gig. So I don't think it's fair to give Van Halen a hard time for that. I mean, you're also going, and this is a point that I want to bring up, and I'm not going to bring it up in a debatable sort of way, but you are also going on the facts from Sammy Hagar at the time when he was writing his book. He wasn't very happy. And his fact, sure, he went back in and re-recorded things, whatever, and he blamed the brothers and things like that. But, there was probably things that he needed to fix vocally as well. And so, I mean, every band does it. So every live record that you're listening to, and I know this for a fact, and I'm not going to mention names, but even bands in the 70s were doing it,
Good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point, bro. I'm going to agree with you. I think that and I'm a Sammy fan, so I'm not picking, but this is my theory. I think Sammy went back to this DVD or this recording in his book to make some justifications. But I really think, though, Rev, that the rot started around the balance area. That's where I think it, and you can go back and look at anything that happened in the past and say, well, look, I don't agree with this. I never agreed with that. But Brad's pointed out a really important thing. The fact that they went and recorded some bits and pieces is hardly a reason to, get shitty with each other, really, on the scheme of things. But I'm going to stick by the theory. If we're allowed them, we're fans, we're allowed to have theories, that the rot started around balance. I don't think it started back end, because if you go and have a look at some of the recordings, though, Rev, they're still hugging each other.
Yeah, but they were supposed to take 3 months off, and Sammy went on vacation, and he was going off what he thought was going to be the future, and they said, "Hey, we're going to redo these tracks. We need you to come back." And he's like, in his book, he says Alex and Eddie were bored, and I had to fly back to LA and fix some stuff because they were bored. And yeah, he spent one day in the studio fixing his tracks. So really, how bad was it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the thing I wanted to bring up. And there's a few people in the chat here have started mentioning other bands that I were referring to. And, Caleb's mentioned Dave had to fix his vocals on 3 songs for the Showtime US festival footage. So, the US festival, sorry. But yeah, it was a common thing. There was other bigger bands in the 70s doing it. And I've heard, because I won't say too much, but I've got tracks of a particular band and what was released, and the same concert, the same recording, and one of them is doctored and one's not, and that it's not that big a difference. It's just they've fixed a couple of things to make it present better in a audio format, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that's fair for a band to be able to do that, right. Because they want to present something, I've got some live recordings of things I've done with bands I've done, and I want to fix a couple of things here and there before I put them out, because I don't want those little, mistakes in there that were minute things or second things, actually, like split second things. But if you can fix it, that makes a better listening experience for the fans, I guess, what I'm getting at. So
yeah,
I think that's what we need to highlight on this show, that it's okay to fix things,
Right.
It's not such a big issue.
All right. So going back, Alex was quoted to say that he refused to do any kind of live albums. He said in the past, Led Zeppelin never did any live albums, and look how successful they've been. And I think to the date, they had done one live album in '76, and it really wasn't anything that made or break the band. And so Alex's theory was Led Zeppelin doesn't need to go and bring out a live album. Why do we? So that was his answer as to why they really didn't do anything live year to date.
One thing I will mention, because you just mentioned Led Zeppelin, is there is actual audio going around of Song Remains the Same, that Madison Square Garden's gig.
Yeah.
And it's the raw audio. And then if you listen to what they released, there's a few chops and edits and all sorts of things. Like, yeah, so they did it too. If we're going to mention names, some of the biggest, bands that are around, like commercially viable bands, Kiss, like Led Zeppelin, Van Halen. So what? That's
right. So if you go to '92, David Lee Roth, The Little Enough just finished, and it really didn't do as well as he thought it was going to. And I think he was on the tail end of his contractual albums for Warner Brothers. So Dave, wanting some of his solo stuff, he had actually tried to convince Warner Brothers to come out with a Van Halen best of that he wanted to put some of the David Lee Roth solo stuff on. And of course, Ed Loeffler, being Sammy's prior manager to being the manager of Van Halen, immediately put a kibosh. And what I've read is there was 2 or 3 different meetings with the higher ups at Warner Brothers where Ed Loeffler was saying the band is going in a certain direction, and if we go back and revisit some of this Van Halen stuff with David Lee Roth, we're gonna divide the band again. And truly, if we do something with David Lee Roth, it's going to hurt the future of Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. So we need to kind of stay away from the old Van Halen, and we need to trudge forward with, the new Van Halen with Sammy Hagar.
Yep.
And finally, Warner Brothers came back and they said, well, would Sammy be willing to do a greatest hits album and redo 2 or 3 Van Halen hits that David Lee Roth sung on? And he was like, absolutely not. Like, if you want to hear that, come watch a live show. Sammy does Ain't Talking About Love, Panama, and Jump. So he said, how about we do a live album where Sammy does 4 or 5 of the old Van Halen songs on a live album, knowing that they had this footage from Fresno. So Warner Brothers bit on his I guess solution to wanting to come out with another album, because at this point when they finished with For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, I think the band was planning on taking the 2-year like hiatus. They were wanting to take a break. And that's where some of the turmoil that I'm talking to you guys about, where Sammy talks about in the book, because they were supposed to be a planned hiatus. And of course, we know in the music industry, the record company wants more. They want more. They want more. So they finally made the decision to do a live album. And on top of it, I think Ed Loeffler's point was, let's do a live CD, and we have this live footage, and let's pair it with the live DVD. So they had all these songs, and as they were going through them, they made the decision to make it a double disc. So they got all the songs picked out for the double disc, and Sammy and the whole band signed off on it. And Eddie and Alex had decided, hey, if we're going to do this double disc and we want our fans to buy this album, we got to give them a reason to buy it. Let's make it perfect. So they went back in the studio, and I think Eddie had thought that some of his guitar tuning was off on the songs, and he wanted to fix it. So he went in the studio and he tinkered with all of his guitar tracks. And I believe, listening to the CD and the DVD, he probably went and re-recorded all of it. That's my opinion. Well, once he re-recorded all the guitar tracks, now Alex's drums were off just a smidgen. So then Alex had to go back in and re-record all the drum tracks. Well, once they did that, Sammy's audio was off. And I haven't heard anything about them bringing Michael Anthony back in, which probably makes me guess that Eddie probably played all the bass stuff that they did for the album, which we will probably never ever hear about. But so they talked to Sammy. Sammy's like, no, we don't need to do this. You guys are crazy. You're just bored. And they finally convinced Sammy to come back into the studio. They isolated him in the vocal booth. They put the video up on a big screen, and he belted it all out in one day, start to finish. Which I thought was pretty impressive. And it kind of goes with the live feel that it wasn't something that was pieced together over a 2-week period. He actually went in and synced all those tracks all in one day. And I think his opinion was probably, I want to get in and out of here. In his book, he says they used a crappy wireless mic, and it really didn't sound as great as he wanted. But if you go back and listen, I think it sounds great. But yeah, he went in and redid all the vocal tracks. So before I move on, anything you guys want to comment on that?
It's funny they technology hadn't caught up at that point where they could have probably not had to do this in this day and age. They could have kind of just quantized things and fixed things through modern technology and plugins. But it's hard to sometimes believe everything you read as well. And I wonder, when you talk about like rereading Sammy's book, he was writing that at a time where he was pretty angry at the band, and he's come out recently sort of apologizing at points too. So I'm not going to not take his word for it, but how much of it was the truth and how much of it was glorified, we don't know. We'll never know. It's interesting what you said about Mikey not coming in, because there's a feeling when you're listening to it that it is Mikey's bass, though, to me. I'm not sure if it, I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't know, but.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's just kind of my thought with everyone saying that they're not sure how much of Mikey's stuff was in For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge and in Balance and in Van Halen 3. So, maybe this was one of those times where they could have slipped it in. I don't know. It's hearsay.
What are your thoughts, Andrew?
Oh, well, I always take the view that we have to take the person that's published a book, authored a book, at their word, don't we? We've got to take Sammy at his word. you know, that's what he's saying. But there's, you know, a few indications to say that, you know, he may have been off on his version of what happened. You know, there's a couple of cool comments in there from Grant, you know, that he doesn't believe that the bullshit about, you know, the tunings being off, you know. And as the Rev said too, you know, no one knows, you know. I'm just trying to think in the back of my mind, and I can't probably answer this, so I'm going to have to pass this on to the Rev. But I can't think of anything that I've read, Rev, where Eddie has contradicted that. I can't think of any.
The Westwood One Studios, which is a national syndicated radio show, they broadcasted both nights live on the radio. Let's see, I have it in my notes here. On 8/20/92, they broadcasted both nights live. So if anyone has those airings, they can compare the two. So they were broadcasted live back in 92 before they went in and re-recorded. So if someone had that, we could compare the two and see what's different and how they compare. So maybe Westwood One still has it in their archives.
Yeah. It's
Johnny says he heard it, so he must have heard it live. Or he had it. Yeah, there you go. How good is your ear, Johnny? Can you tell the difference between what was live 28 years ago to what's on CD? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of a little caveat to what could answer some questions, but let me see.
Maybe we can set our viewers on a deep dive trying to find it.
Yeah, there we go. There you go.
Raw audio.
Yeah. So the live audio and video was recorded in May 92 in Salon Arena. I don't know if I said that right. In Fresno, California. 2 nights. There was 15 cameras that they used for the footage. One of the cool things about this footage is it was one of the first times where they actually used those cranes that went out into the crowd and had that 360-degree gimbal where they could pick up footage from the stage from the fans' view or view from the stage to the fans' view. So that was something that they really used a lot in like sporting arenas and
wow.
So Van Halen was the first one to use those type of cameras in a live setting. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. The band agreed to do the live production to give to Warner Brothers. They just Warner Brothers was looking for an excuse to promote it. So they had the live footage and they had the CD. It was a great pairing to give Warner Brothers what they wanted. I mean, really, all they were looking for was a greatest hits album, and they were giving them 2 big things to sell. One of the issues was last minute when Warner Brothers decided to, or when they put the CD out for sale, they actually bumped the price up because it was a double disc, and the band thinks that it didn't sell as much because the price was a little high at the time. So it took a while for the sales to really get jacked up there. It finally went double platinum, but it took quite a few years. So talking about the band going back into 5150 Studios, the vocal tracks were redone by by Sammy. Ed and Al decided to touch up all the guitar and drum parts. And to me, when I listen to this CD or when I watch this DVD, I think it's a perfect pairing. Sometimes when you watch a live show, and I talked a little bit earlier, the crowd's too loud, or you're trying to mix what you're picking up from the soundboard or what you're picking up, from the whole audio experience. And I think that the drums and guitar on this album are very strong. And if you're a guitarist or a guitar enthusiast or a drum enthusiast, this is like the perfect live album, because I think in whole, like 65% of the sound and audio of this DVD and these CDs is the drums and guitar. And I think it's a perfect mixture. I really do. I mean, what do you think when you hear it the audio wise, compared to some of the other live CDs that are out there or live footage you've seen?
I love the sounds.
Yeah.
You know, when I crank it through my stereo, listening to the DVD, it's huge.
Yeah,
It's
sounds
massive.
good.
The levels are all good. You know, everything's fairly mixed really well from a band perspective, in my opinion. The bass is great in the mix. It's not buried. It's up front. And there's some great bass playing on it. So, you know, that's, you know, to me, everything looks fairly in sync as well. Like they did it well. They didn't, I mean, the only thing that bothered me initially was the fact that they showed two different nights footage. I would
Yeah.
have seen one night sort of footage, but I got used to that, you know. And that kind of made me let go of that. It wasn't completely a live record at the time anyway. You know what I mean? Because there's two nights footage they use where they're dressed differently and that. So as opposed to Live Without a Net where it's the one performance, it's, you know. But for me, I mean, you know, especially when this came out, none of this information was out there. I just bought it. Fell in love with it. It was great to hear these songs played, not in a live setting, basically, like rather than just buying a CD of all studio quality material. It was nice to hear a live atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think the one of the things they didn't do well is some of the fan or the audience audio is panned in and out and it's faded, which kind of sounds fake or doctored up. I didn't like that.
But a lot of bands do that anyway, man. It's you know, you talk about, you know, some of the bands we mentioned before, Kiss, Led Zeppelin, all of them, they did put crowd noises in and stuff like that. Like that was always something that they did on live records. And you listen to, like, even if you go back to trying to think, like Joe Walsh has got a live record that I'm trying to think of the name of. And like all sorts of bands in that era in the 70s and 80s and that, they all put live loops of, you know, it would have been the crowd audience that night, but they just would crank the volume of it up at the start of the song, which used to annoy me, and then it would pan out a bit so you could hear the song. That stuff used to annoy me, but not so much on this record. I think it's the overall mix is really good.
Yeah, sometimes it could be a little white noise if you're looping the same thing over and over. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
Mate, I'm the perfect Van Halen fan. I'm not going to complain. I never complained, guys. I love the sound. I love the video. And then later on, when we found out there was a controversy around the mixing and the adding of the crowd, you know, I was brought up listening to Get Your Yayas Out by the Rolling Stones, which is doctored. And this, you know, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Is everybody ready? You know, at the start of, you know, Jumping Jack Flash, you know, that was all added on. So, and that was back in 1970. So, you know, it's rock and roll, guys. It's just, you know, it's just what, yeah. You know, I still get captivated by the visual aspect of it. The sound is fantastic. I love the sound, the tone. It's brilliant, Brad. As you said, you know, I've just, you know, all these great songs on the albums that we love. You know, Carnal Knowledge. It was just epic, mind blowing. It was our song remains the same. You know, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw something out there.
Throw it out there. I'll catch it.
Yeah, I want you guys to catch it. So if Alex and Ed went back and re-recorded stuff, and we're saying that Mikey had no part of it, or we're not saying that, but we're alluding to that. How can you say, like, say the bass solo, for example, it's him, and the bass sounds on it pretty much sound like that all the way through.
Yeah, you're probably right. I haven't really dug
I mean,
into it too deep.
I would love to know if anyone in the chat knows about that, because maybe they had to get Mikey in as well, or they might have just used the existing bass tracks. Oh, the one beautiful thing about, and I'll say this from a technical perspective, when you're recording, is bass frequencies are wider.
Yeah.
The frequencies are wider, and treble frequencies are very tight. So the wider the frequency, the easier it is to adjust things. So maybe they might have just adjusted the bass stuff and might not been able to adjust the guitar and drum so much at that particular time. And that's, I don't know. Look, yeah, it's hard to tell.
Right. Well, we may never know. Diamond D says he thought the crowd noise was too much. If you listen to Metallica or U2 or AC/DC, my opinion is those crowd noises are way too much, like unlistenable to my ears. Which I thought this was a perfect blend of crowd noise to where it wasn't overbearing, and you can listen to it, for instance, in the car while you're driving, and it wasn't obnoxious or overpowering. That's just my opinion. But so, where did we leave off? So it was released January 26, 93. Talked about Warner Brothers bumping the price up because it was a double CD. It took 3 years, or the band had a 3-year stint where 3 albums went number one, right? 1984 almost made it because Michael Jackson was in its way. 5150 went number one. OU812 went number one. For Unlawful Carnal Carnal Knowledge went number one. But this one only peaked at number 5. But I mean, it's a live album. I think that's pretty good. You know, I think it was great organic content of both these shows. I think they did a great job, of blending both shows. I didn't like the fact that you could tell Sammy and Michael were wearing different shirts. In the middle of the songs, they would flip-flop. That was a little odd and kind of would throw you off a little bit. But overall, I thought the whole thing was great. I liked the interviews they did in between solos, since we're talking about the DVD. I thought it was cool that they interviewed Sammy and Michael and Alex and Eddie. But what was on the CD that didn't make the DVD was Eagles Fly and Dream Is Over. Didn't make the DVD. And what was on the DVD that didn't make this, or what was on the CD but didn't make the DVD, Panama, One Way to Rock, Why Can't This Be Love, Give to Live, and Won't Get Fooled Again, didn't make the DVD. And we'll get into it when we rank these tracks, but selfishly, I kind of wish they would have skipped the drum solo and maybe the bass solo and thrown in Won't Get Fooled Again and Why Can't This Be Love, just because I would have loved to have seen those tracks on the DVD. But I think Van Halen at that time was cohesive, and they wanted, if Eddie was going to do a solo and Sammy was going to do a solo, they wanted to give the same platform to Alex and Michael.
I just want to highlight a comment that Grant Fisher's put here. He's not disputing that Sammy re-recorded vocals. He's saying Ed, Al, and Mike would have only done minor fixes for bum notes, etc. They didn't re-record the entire show, and that's my gut feeling on it too. That's, and that's why I'm saying I'm not taking, sides here or whatever, but in a roundabout way, I think maybe any comments that were made about that from internal sources of the band, maybe they were just a little bit angry at the particular time and made bigger deal of it than probably it should have been made of.
Yeah, was Sammy there when Alex and Eddie redid all these tracks? Who knows?
We don't know that, nor we only know that he only wanted to be there for that day and take off. So my point being is that nearly every live record gets touched up in some way, shape, or form, and maybe there was certain things that like Ed's, tuning might have been off on a particular thing or bum notes here and there, and it happens. I mean, I've seen live performances of Van Halen, and 99% of the time they're right on the money, but there's sometimes a tiny little glitch here and there, or something that Ed might play slightly different, he might not have been happy with. That's all I can think of. In my listening to it, it still sounds live to me. It doesn't sound like it's been re-recorded the whole gig, if that makes sense.
Well, Brad, you make a good point. So who in the chat, I know Johnny was at this show, and I think Caleb was at this show, who saw the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge Tour live, and how does it compare to this DVD? Is it spot on? Is it close? Is it way off? If anyone saw the tour, like, give us your opinion. Tell us listening to the CD, Ed's guitar was spot on damn near every song.
I mean, there's footage floating around on YouTube and stuff like that from live performances of that same time frame.
Yeah.
And they're right on it. But then occasionally, especially like in that Texas show, the free Texas show they did, you can hear Ed's guitar like occasionally off tune, but they continue playing the song. And that's the sort of thing I'm thinking they might have doctored those sort of things up, necessarily not the whole performance, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But it still sounds very live to me, the whole record. It doesn't sound like they've gone in and re-recorded the whole thing live. It doesn't sound like that to me.
Yeah, and Brad, I'm glad we're talking about this because I think the controversy is good for the show. But listening to it, it sounds amazing. And in my mind, that's the way Van Halen did shows. Everyone talks about how tight they were always and how serious they took it, and they rarely were loose. So in my mind, going to bed at night every night, I want to think that they were tight and they didn't go in and doctor a whole lot. You know, I'm just going off what I've read. So I think you may have a good point.
Oh, that's a point that Grant Fisher made in the chat, but it's something that I've always thought. And I remember, I mean, for me, it brings back a lot of memories, this Steve, like when I had it on CD, for example, driving along in my car, had it on cassette, listening, put it on audio cassette, driving along, listening to my cassette player, driving down the coast, listening it while I'm heading down for a surf trip or something. It would be something that I always listened to and imagine what it would have been like being at that performance,
And it was really good.
Yeah.
So before we move to the tracks, Andrew, what's your thought? You've been a little quiet. Do you think this was severely doctored up, or do you think there's a chance that it could be overblown by Sammy due to the situation, and that don't want to put you on the spot, but
no, it's okay. I've made comment earlier about my thoughts, just to I suppose conclude my view. Look, I take Sammy at his word. He wrote the book. I think he's made a mountain out of a molehill. It's a fact that something was done to the recordings. Does that add any disappointment as far as I'm concerned to it? No. Do some Van Halen fans make a meal out of that? Probably. Does that mean, though, that the religious experience that Brad and I had at the Church of Van Halen is diminished in any way? Absolutely not. Is it a great recording and a great documentary of the band that we love? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do I hope and pray, like all of us, that we're going to get some anniversary editions of this later on? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it. But like I said, I don't complain.
Yeah, Brad, sonically, if you listen to Live Without a Net, it's really not that different than this.
Yeah.
And who's to say they weren't better or tighter or more on in 92 than they were in 86? Yeah. They're probably better in 92.
Well, Metal Mike just put a comment there that Sammy wrote the book when he was still mad at Ed and Alex, and that's what I'm alluding to a bit. So not saying that it's not true, but he might have made a bigger deal about it, because I couldn't imagine them going in and re-recording every song, drums and guitars all the way through again. It just wouldn't sort of make sense to me, but hey, we'll never really know, I guess. Unless someone you know, and let's say Alex come out and goes, no, this is what happened, or Sammy comes back and goes, you know, oh, you know, this is not quite what Alex would probably be the only one that really knows, because he would have been there every day with Ed.
Yeah. I still kick myself for not going to this tour. You know, I was 14, 15 years old. You know, I could have hitched a ride and went. God dang, I wish I would have seen this live. That's like my one regret in life. But so should we start off with the first track?
Yeah, let's do it.
Andrew, you got anything else?
No, it's all good, brother.
All right. So Pound Cake. I played the audio to the beginning of Pound Cake at the start of the show. The hello, baby, and then the drill. Man, how powerful was that song? Us in the States, you know, we saw it on MTV Music Awards. We saw it on the video. But to actually see Eddie really the camera honed in on him with the drill and the guitar and sitting down on the drum riser and playing the drill part during the solo, I think it was just like opening up the floodgates. Because really, we had really only seen this guitar. If you hadn't seen him live, you really only seen this guitar on MTV and a few magazines. So it was just really cool to see him play this guitar, use the drill. I thought it was amazing how after the drill, the lights kick on and the whole band kind of sachets to the front of the stage. The harmonics that Eddie's doing through the first, you know, in the beginning of the song is just amazing, because you hear it slightly on the album, but you hear it live and it's like it went from a 6 to a 10. The harmonics and the stuff that he does live, it's like elevated, and that's kind of the reason why I like this album so much, is because the little nuances that Eddie does throughout this whole catalog, it's like elevated during when he plays live. So I thought the live version was up there with the album version. The guitars and drums are very powerful in this song. I like how he prior to OU812, he never really used the wah pedal, but on this album he really used it a ton. And on Pound Cake, he does the dive bomb and goes up and just hits the wah pedal on a couple harmonics, which wasn't on the album version of Pound Cake. So I really thought that was awesome. I like the pre-solo, how he's hitting, tapping harmonics, just some really cool stuff that he adds in that's not on the album. That's why I really like this. But you know, Sammy's really getting into the crowd. He's getting them fired up. He's got his arm around Eddie when they're singing, and he's kind of harmonizing with Eddie's guitar after the solo. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. I think it's a great way to start off this album, and I'm not sure. I'd have to check the encyclopedia, but I'm not sure if this was the song that they normally open up that show with. I'm sure it is, but it's a perfect way to start off the show, and it's great.
Man, you've been reading my notes, Kurt. Look, I won't sort of touch too much more on what you have. There's a couple of things I wanted to highlight. When the song starts, obviously with Ed with the drill, then they come in. It's just, that is the magic for me of that Carnal Knowledge era, captured in that intro of that. There's so much power. There's so much rawness there in the band. There's so much energy, and for me, it captivates that whole time frame in that one intro. You know, when they come in together, and Sammy's doing, doing all that. Man, I get goosebumps even now talking about it. And for me, exactly all the things you said, all the little tap harmonics and the little extra little things he threw in there live, mate. All I have to say is when I got this and put it on for the first time, I was blown back in my seat. I'm sure Andrew will probably be the same with this one. And I have to say it's like a 100 out of 10 for me. Pancakes been one of my all-time favorite Van Halen songs, and it's from my all-time favorite album. So it's a really, really magical song for me. So yeah.
Well, when you got your pitch box, that was the first song you played live on the air. Yeah. So that tells me right there.
The first notes I played. Yep. First notes I played. And there's just something magical about that era of Van Halen, and that song in particular. It just takes me back to the first time I heard it every time. Yeah. Andrew.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, look, I'm not going to surprise you guys. The first 7 songs on this recording, it's just, absolutely remarkable. It's it's pretty close to perfection for me for years. How many years are we talking about now? How many
20,
years? 30?
Yeah, 30. I'm not a math whiz, but
pretty close to 30 odd years. And look, I'm just going to echo what Brad said too. Brad kind of knows where I'm coming from, guys. We're still stuck back in this period in history, and that's what's great, because this recording was the first thing that we'd seen since Live Without a Net, So to get this. And I'm going to so this is how bad it is here in New Zealand. We didn't know anything about it. None of the there was no talk, there was no discussion, none of the record stores. And I was with my mum in a shopping centre with my mum and my sister, and we were just walking around doing something, and I just walked past the record shop or whatever, and they had this thing of Van Halen and right here, and I just had to go in there. I just ran in there, grabbed the VHS, quickly wanted to go home. I just didn't wanted to ditch my family, go home and watch this. And anyway,
so you got the DVD before you got the CD?
No, the VHS
or whatever. Yeah, sorry.
The olden days. And as Brad said, seeing Eddie with the drill, just doing this. Because we'd heard the song and Brad's score.
Andrew.
Brad's score, 100 out of 10, never a skip. One of the just a knockout punch for a great recording, never a skip.
What a way to open a concert.
Oh, my North American brothers and sisters in the chat who saw this band, and I know that we've got Kurt here who's seen this band during this era. You guys have no idea how much I envy you.
Yeah, I know Johnny's seen him. I think Jay jumped in. This was his first time seeing Van Halen was this tour. He saw him, I think, Orange County. But all right,
I'm going to go as far as saying before we carry on, Kurt, that I think this era of Van Halen when they were touring, this is they were at their peak here.
Yeah,
you're hearing a band that in my opinion were at their peak. They were performing so well. I mean, this concert series aside, any of the live footage I've seen from this era is just untouchable. The band were on fire.
Hey, Helen.
Yeah.
So, what are we up to next?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they couldn't have picked a better song to start out number 2. So Jay saw Middletown, New York, 1993. He says show is on YouTube. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Wonder if we'll see Jay like running into the porta potty taking a piss on the stage left. Judgment Day. I'm sure Brad's just as excited about this song as I am, but finally saw how Eddie did the intro with the whammy bar and scratching the strings. You hear it on the album, and it's like alien-like, right? But then you see him do it live right there, and the camera's like center stage on his guitar, and he's doing the intro, and the tapping, the hammer-ons. I love it. And my favorite part, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, but as he's doing the solo, Sammy looks over at Ed when he's up on the high part of the stage, and he says, "Surf's up, Eddie!" I love it. That was just a great part, but great vocals by Micheal, and the band, the harmonies are awesome. I love how in this part of the show, the lights are isolated on each band member. So I think Eddie is green, Michael's blue, and Sammy is red. And at the beginning of the show, they're just isolated with the lights. And I thought that was kind of a cool touch to the live show, showing that each band member kind of had a different color when it was a certain part of the song. You could tell that the band loved playing this song. As they're going through it from start to beginning, they're all having a good time. They're putting their heart into it. It's not one of those songs where they're just rolling through the punches and going from A to Z. They seriously like have a good feeling and good vibe about this song, and you could see it on this DVD where they're having fun. Like they're probably excited that this is the second song that they're playing live, and you can feel it. So I love that part. Let's see. Just great. They're just great jamming together. It looks like they're having a good time, and this is another 10 out of 10. Never skip. A great way to start the show off with.
Second song in, and it's like they go from like strength to strength. This song in particular is one of my favorites from the Carnal Knowledge record, and seeing it in this format was just remarkable to me. The first time I watched it, I was just glued to what was happening there, and I was watching Ed do that intro, and I mean, I don't really have to say too much more than that. The band was so energized at this particular time, and this song, it does remind me of that sort of Fair Warning era of Van Halen for me. This, in particular, this whole record, but this song, for some reason, I could hear this song on Fair Warning, and I think I even had a phone call discussion with someone in hospital about this. That there's a lot on Carnal Knowledge that could be a continuation of Fair Warning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dark energy on these songs, and this song's so exciting to me. I love Ed's playing on it. I love the bass playing. The harmonies at the end are just outstanding. Don't want to touch on too much more than you did already, Kurt, but for me, seeing that intro to the song after that slight pause between Pound Cake and then it comes in, it's like instantly, as soon as you hear it, it's just like the goosebump material for me. Another 100 out of 10, another 10 out of 10. Never skip.
Yeah, goosebumps.
Yeah, that's it. I told you, you've seen my notes. I must have accidentally emailed them to you.
No. We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. Andrew.
Well, you've picked yourself up from the floor, and this song's going to put you back up on the ceiling, isn't it? So, look, the standout for me on this song is when Eddie, after doing the harmonics, and he dives, just kills this Floyd Rose.
He's just butchering the strings. Like, I'm afraid to do that because I feel like they're either going to break or it's going to go so flat that, like, It's going to look like your cousin that's 12 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. For me to see that, we had a bit of an idea what was happening, didn't we, with the record? But to see that, and it was like, oh man, that's yeah. It's it's 100 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm on the roof now.
I
It's
know.
just it's phenomenal. I'm not going to repeat anything that the other co-hosts have said. Obviously, we want to hear what you guys think about the tracks too in the chat. Look, it's a Brad score. There's going to be no surprises for the next. I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. Next 7 songs.
Who picks the song order? Do you guys know typically? Like, is it Sammy or is it?
Isn't it Alex?
Is it? I know Alex did early on. He did.
Oh,
I always thought it was
okay.
Al, but I mean, I could be wrong. But the flow and where they put their ebbs and the flows and the highs and the lows with the song order, it's brilliant the way they structured their set list.
Yeah. So obviously, so Ben Tom's saying he thinks it's Al. Man on a Mission, probably a perfect song right here after 2 barn burners. Really, just 2 barn burners. And I think this song typically probably isn't a number 1 pick off this album, but I thought they killed it live. The finger tapping at the beginning, Eddie's got the volume down, 2 or 3 notches. And on the live DVD, you can actually see the notes he's playing. And I remember watching that over and over and over till I got it. That's one of the things I loved about watching this is you could see what he was doing. So big highlight for me, watching Eddie do the intro lick. One of my favorite Eddie Van Halen moments is his rhythm playing on this song after he does the finger tapping. It's the cowboy chords up here where he's doing 1 note at a time and then he's bending them. Like that. Like that's Eddie Van Halen in a basket right there. So totally love that part. In the DVD, it really gives you a good video close-up of that Amber Ernieball musicman. I think Man on a Mission was really the first song where they really zoomed in on his guitar. Outside of seeing it on Guitar World magazines, this was really where you can kind of take a look at the guitar. And as Andrew calls it, it's going from a jacked up Chevy pickup to a Ferrari. Like he upgraded his gear. Like the 5150 was a tractor pulling, like mud slinging working machine. And then the musicman's like hugging the road doing 160 miles an hour, on a corner. Right? Thank you, Andrew, for doing that for me. But anyway, I thought it was cool seeing the Ernieball Musicman. I like the different ending that they did on this song. Sammy harmonizing with Eddie's playing as he's playing the notes and he's harmonizing with him. And then, of course, Sammy doing his thing with the banner. They threw the banner up on stage with the Fresno effing Van Halen, whatever it said. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was cool seeing Sammy pull up the banner and read it. And I think Micheal helped him hold it, and then he put it around his shoulders for the next song. But Man on a Mission, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Never a skip.
Look at Andrew.
I know. It's like he just took a big shot of Red Bull or something.
Oh, goodness.
I'm thinking time out, man. I'm thinking time out.
An 8? 8.5? 8? We got a lot of songs on this album. How about an 8.7?
Oh, well. Okay. I'll keep quiet. Yeah, stay there. Brad, bring some integrity back to the show, please.
Well, there's no secret to anyone now. I'm a massive carnal knowledge era Van Halen nut. So to hear this song live was remarkable to me. To see them, the way Ed and the way Ed was playing that song, the way him and Mikey do those parts together in the song, the drumming in this song is just it's very Zeppelin to me. It's got that feel. Sammy's singing is remarkable. I love the different outro, like Kurt mentioned, and there's an energy on stage with these guys, and you could see they were so close at this particular point in time. For me, it's a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip. Hearing the songs, that's what I'm saying. Hearing the songs live from Carnal Knowledge was the best thing for me about this, because,
Yep.
that was the highlight for me, to hear these songs live. We weren't blessed, like we keep saying, Andrew, being to be able to see this era of Van Halen live. So this was it for us. This was it. There was nothing on YouTube. YouTube was not even a thing. So this is all we had to connect the dots. We had Carnal Knowledge, and then we had this, and it connected the dots for us. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Andrew.
Awesome. Bring back that Rev. Bring him back from purgatory. Yeah, okay. All right. You hold that up. You bloody hold that up. Look, guys, one of the great things I love about this song, and after doing some research for it on the show, what I love especially, you got these two tracks, and then you've got this song here. And what I really love about it, and I'm going to just make some equations here to the Rolling Stones, because we've been listening to the Rolling Stones in conjunction for the Sunday show. And what I love about this song is it has the swing component, as opposed to the first two songs, which are clearly rockers. Now, I'm not this musical technician dude that can identify all these things, but I love the swing that this song has. And it's the groove. It's just great.
Let's
I
hear
love
it.
It's in the
Sing it.
no. It's in the pocket. It's and it just reminds me, I think, in the back of my mind, this thing that the Van Halens have had for a long, long time. This idea of just, of being in the groove, having this swing thing, which is really, really important for rock and roll guys to do. And Alex Van Halen provides that with this song.
Mm-hmm.
It's a standout for me for Alex Van Halen moving forward on some of these other songs. And I'm going to stick with Brad. It's a 10 out of 10, and it's never a skip.
Kurt, redeem yourself, son.
Mine's never a skip.
Oh, okay. It went 8.7. 8.7.
8.7. I can't give all of them a 10, because then I would look like a fanboy.
What we are.
I have a reputation to uphold here in the States.
Okay.
All right. When It's Love, off OU812. Mr. Alan Fitzgerald played keyboards, and he actually sung background vocals on this tour. I don't know, what did they stick him, like down below the stage or in the porta potty? Where was he? Down below? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think
Down
Eddie
was there with the groupies.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to when we do the second running of this. When Sammy comes out with his shirt off, I know where he's been. I think Eddie learned his lesson. He played keyboards on the 5150 tour, and then he did it again and played guitar on OU812. I thought it was better without him playing keyboards. As much as I love Eddie's keyboard work, I think his guitar work live is better when someone else is doing the keyboards. I think during Balance or one of the tours, they had just an audio track that they played. But this tour, they actually had someone there live playing it with the band, and I thought it was a perfect blend. Eddie can concentrate on playing guitar. I thought on all the keyboard songs, he added a bunch more licks in the songs that weren't on the album, which was a great contribution to the live concept of those songs. So always a thumbs up on the keyboard songs, I think, if Eddie's not behind the keyboards, because it kind of takes it away from it a little bit. But the fills that he does, I love them. Stuff that's not on the album, I don't even know how to describe it, because as Brad would say, it's almost alien-like, just some of the stuff that he just throws in there real quick, and you're like, oh man, that's new, or I haven't heard him do that, or oh, that fits in perfect. It just shows his musicianship. And to me, sometimes I think back to maybe that's the way some of the songs were written originally, and they had to clean them up a little bit when they put them on the album. So live, sometimes you'll see some of the stuff that came from the cutting room floor that either didn't make the album or they cut out of the album. So that's one of the things I love about seeing bands live, especially Van Halen. Amazing harmonies with Eddie and Micheal on this song. I think the band just shows that outside of their instruments, they really are musicians with their vocals on top of what they're playing. The crowd is really getting into this song. You hear him singing, and I think it pans out and shows a bunch of girls singing along with it. So I think that's cool that the girls are getting into the music. Amazing tapping and bending that Eddie's doing on the outro and the solo. The trill he does, I can't remember what part it is. Maybe it's the tail end of his solo where he's doing the tremolo picking or trill picking, whatever you want to call it, is awesome. And this is a 10 out of 10 for me. Never skip. A great song.
Well, for me, it's my favorite version of this song, without a doubt. I love seeing Ed play the keyboards, but I much prefer him playing guitar. And you can't have it both ways. You can't have him playing both parts. But I love, like you said, Kurt, I love the little extra parts, the little licks.
Yeah,
and
he adds to it.
Playing, so it puts a little bit more flavor in it for me. I love his guitar solo in this. I prefer this version because it hasn't got that, like on OU812, it's got that sort of click thing going on in the song, and I prefer it not being there. But I just love Alex's drumming in this song. I love the harmonies are like, angelic. They're beautiful. And Sammy's singing his guts out. It's a beautiful song, and it really just defines that era of Van Halen, like OU812. Everything they sort of did up until that point was always about love and things like that, like the good things in life. I know they had party songs and stuff like that, but that captivates that sort of whole era for me. I have to give it a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip. It's one of my all-time favorite Van Halen songs, and it's probably one of my favorite solos Eddie's ever done. Just in a song, I'm talking. He played for the song. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And
never skip.
Andrew, real quick, I just skipped over this. I think it shows Eddie's maturity at this point in his life with the solo, the way he's playing, just his stage presence. He's wearing, the yellow V-neck T-shirt with cut-up jeans and some Converse T-shirts, and he's wearing a freaking watch. Like, to me, like, those are small signs of someone that is maturing. Like, Valerie was probably pregnant by then, and you can just tell, like, he had gone away from the spandex and vests and kind of the flashy stage getup at this point where they were turning a corner in their career. And I actually think it's cool to be, okay with where you're at in life. And I think Eddie and Sammy and Alex, and they were all kind of maturing at this point.
100%. Andrew.
Sorry.
I'm glad Eddie's not wearing the spandex because it gives Sammy a great opportunity to pull off wearing some of the spandex pants.
He's wearing the Scottish spandex with the plaid or whatever.
Well, that's right. He's channeling Rod Stewart, isn't he? If you think I'm sexy and you're not, he's caught. He's caught. Look, I love everything about this song. It's one of my favorite Van Halen songs. When OU812 was released, I fell in love with it. There's a lot of things on this song that I couldn't articulate back then, and kind of patted myself on the back when I spoke to other Van Halen fans later on, when I could hear, and we've done shows about this, and we're going to keep talking about this, when I could hear some Clapton licks and then find out actually that what I was hearing was Clapton licks. So it wasn't just my ears playing tricks on me. I love it to see it played, as Brad said, in the setting with Eddie doing what he needs to be doing, which is playing the guitar. It's one of the defining versions of the song. I love anything to do with this song. Love it. It's one of my favorite Van Halen songs, and I'm going to Brad score it 50 out of 10.
Oh, God. You make me just look like a stick in the mud when I don't go over 10.
Well, you said it. You're the Rev, and we're just fanboys.
Oh, my God. 100 out of 10. I love it. All right. In and out. A song about life. Yeah, this is another great song. I think it goes perfect. I think the song selection for either this DVD or live is perfect. They came out with 4 bangers, and then they come in with When It's Love, and then they come in with In and Out. I think it was perfect. At this point, Eddie was 5 in a row with ernieball musicman. He hadn't changed guitars yet. Still in tune, no issues. So this may go back to Brad's theory of not really going back and re-recording all of the tracks on that guitar. But I guess Eddie really wasn't a guy that switched guitars every song anyway. But yeah, he had played the same guitar at this point forward. But man, when I hear this song, I really think that Ed and Al are really leading the band with that Van Halen DNA. They're on a chain. They're connected. Michael and Sammy are following behind. These two are really running the show at this point with this song. I think Alex's drums are very strong on this song. And Eddie comes in with his guitar. He's got the wah-wah pedal left and right. And I know Brad's a big fan of the wah. So that's one of the things I love about this era is Eddie kind of followed in suit, where the wah-wah pedal had kind of taken the back seat in the 80s. It wasn't a very popular pedal. But in the 90s, in the quote unquote, we won't call it grunge because Andrew will put us in timeout if we do, but it kind of came back in the 90s. You think about Pearl Jam, a lot of these other bands were bringing the wah-wah back, and Eddie, being the smart musician that he is, he followed suit. So I love the fact that he had the wah-wah in full effect already on 2 or 3 songs, but he was huge and in and out. Strong, quick ending on this. I like the way the band just kind of immediately stopped. and got the crowd waiting for the next song. I'm going to give this one 8 out of 10. Never skip.
Metal Mike, we're doing the track listing of this.
Yeah,
We're doing the DVD Metal Mike. Yeah, sorry for the confusion, brother.
Yeah,
we're doing the DVD 93.
The DVD.
All right, so In and Out again. It's Carnal Knowledge era song, and to see it in this way, and they stretched it out a little bit at the end. I'm just going to highlight the neck pickup use and the wah pedal as well. That's one thing that I love about Ed in this era. He wasn't afraid to use the neck pickup and the wah pedal, which he highlights in this song quite a bit. And I have to agree with Kurt, the groove, that's that classic, Alex and Ed thing that was undeniable between the two of them. They just were locked into a groove, and they were leading this. I love the playing where Michael Anthony and Ed are playing together in this song. That's a real big highlight for me. Kind of goes back to our little discussion at the start. To me, I still think it's Mikey on there, and I'm going to believe it is. I'm not going to, my gut instinct is it's Mikey. I want to believe that because it's a beautiful moment to see that as well. I love the song. Always have loved the song. I love the lyrical content. That's things that, topics that are still to this day, I believe, we're paying to come in, we're paying to come out. It's you're paying your whole life to be in existence. And that was the song, that's what the song's about, basically.
Right.
For me, it's a wonderful song, and I give it a 10 out of 10. I love the performance of it on this. It's and it was great, going back to what I said in the last song, to see these songs played in a live format. Back in this era, we were only listening to the Carnal Knowledge record, so to hear it like this was like touching on the unison bend things that Ed and Sammy were doing towards the end of the song. That was not on the record,
No, yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that.
Andrew.
Easy. 10 out of 10. Never a skip for this thing.
There it is.
That's it. Game over. 10 out of 10. The Rev.
Oh God.
Do we know what brought the wah back into his passion? I mean, I know early on he could never afford a wah, so he learned how to, bend the strings on his own.
Maybe just, he saved a little bit of money, went out and splurged and bought a wah pedal. I don't know.
Well, being a Clapton nut, going back to Kramer, we all know that he rates Clapton up until Derek and the Dominoes. So half of Cream's songs were all about the wah, weren't they? So, he's got the wah in him. He's got the wah, baby. So, yeah.
That's my favorite. It's my favorite effect, and still to this day, I've never owned one.
Really?
Yeah.
I've culled a lot of mine. I think I've got 4 wah pedals left.
I need to get one.
It's my favorite pedal. That and a univibe.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
That's for another show.
Yeah, and he, I thought it was cool. There was, it might be in my notes here at one point where he hit a harmonic and hit the wah and his trem bar at the same time, and it was just like mind-blowing. Like no one did that stuff, especially in 92, 93. But, yeah. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, it might have been during that song. I can't remember, but
still think there's there is a valid point to what you said about the bands around the era bringing the wah to the forefront again. I mean, in the late 80s, like guys like Slash,
Guns N' Roses,
and that became like pretty epic to have a
wah Hammond.
Yeah, well, I don't like to talk about that because that's overuse in my opinion, but that's debatable. But
he wears wah-wahs as shoes.
wah pedals are an expression pedal, not an excuse to just do this, in my opinion. But I'm not going to say any more than that.
Laziness.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, yeah. Where are we at, guys? I'm lost on wah pedals now.
Yeah, Nelson says I need to get the Vox wah wah. Yeah,
I've got an old Vox wah, Nelson.
I know the Crybaby has always been kind of the one that I've always had my eye on, but
yeah, I've got a Crybaby. I've got 4 left that all sound different. That's why I kept 4. I had about 10 wah pedals, and I've got rid of them over the years. Too similar. I've just kept 4 that sound completely different to each other.
I have this multi-effects pedal that does have a wah pedal on it, but I don't use it very much. So, I mean, it's really dusty. It tells you how much I use it.
What I'm getting at with Ed's wah playing is there is a technique with playing with a wah pedal, and he is very good at using it, or past tense now. He was very good at using a wah pedal. Let's just put it that way. He used one properly, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Ben Tom brings up Phyllis Sace, which we won't go into that, but he's a fan of Brad's.
Oh, yeah. Phyllis Sace is the king at the moment.
All right. Right here, right now. Right now, youth is king. Right now, Van Halen is kicking ass in America. I'll never forget, I had the Van Halen t-shirt. It was white. It said Van Halen right now on it. It had a bunch of sayings, and on the back it said, youth is king. I wish I still had that shirt, but you guys got to realize I was like 14, 15 years old. But right now was a big anthem for the youth and my age at that time. Like, it was a big song in my adolescent. So it kind of, this song always touched me. Hearing it live, I thought Ed and Sam, did a great job. Sam pushed it vocally and technically. I think Ed did a lot of those extra things that we talk about that weren't on the album with his guitar, as someone else was playing the keyboards. But for instance, towards the end of the song, you see Eddie doing those arpeggios, and he's got his eyes closed, and he's just like letting it flow. Sammy's on his knees, and he's screaming and like giving it his all. And at this point, I think in the show, it's right before their first break. So Eddie and Sammy are giving it hell because they know that Michael's going to be doing a bass solo. They're going to get a break. So I think it's a great point in the show that this DVD captures, where these guys are given that one last trip around the racetrack before they go in and use the restroom and refreshing their drinks. But I think this DVD does a great job of capturing that energy. And this is never a skip. It's a 10 out of a 10. And I love how the end, Sammy just like belts out his vocals and his voice is cracking. And yeah, it's a great song. So 10 out of 10, never a skip.
Right now, I'm grateful we're talking about this DVD. I love this song. I loved it from the minute I heard it for the very first time. I love everything about it. I love the piano. I love the bass. I love the driving beat from Alex. And this particular version of it, I love all the little extra bits Ed does throughout the song, the tapping harmonics, everything.
Yeah, Metal Mike and Ben Tom are talking about the tapping and the pinch harmonics.
And yes, exactly. I love the guitar solo in this song.
Oh,
it's you want to talk about playing from the heart that Ed was giving it everything. Like, in my opinion, it's probably one of the highlights of the Carnal Knowledge era for me is this song right now.
Yeah.
And I put it on in the car, and I reckon I nearly blow my speakers in my car listening to this song. because it's one of every time this song comes on, I just have to crank it. And I always love this version of it, almost more so than the Carnal Knowledge one. You know, I haven't ranked it because I can't really rank it. I'll give it 10 out of 10, 100 out of 10, never a skip. Andrew.
Couple of things, guys. Couple of things about this song. You know, we loved the video. We got the video here in New Zealand, so that was great. You know, we got to see this smart, clever video. I was doing a few things with my mind back then that didn't include illegal substances or things like that. It was, you know, thinking about things outside of myself, politics, all these noble things that people should be thinking about at some stage in their lives and applying. I thought the band was really, really smart with the song. The lyrics especially hooked me, and still do. You know, it's a sophistication I think that the band will be remembered for as history progresses. I think the songs are going to become, if not already, an anthem for diehard fans like us. I think it's going to become an anthem down the track when we're long gone. It's a masterpiece. It's again, I have to Brad score this. It's never a skip. One of my favorite versions of the song, and it's 20 out of 10.
100 out of 10.
Yeah, this is my Hotel California, my Freebird, my Stairway to Heaven for my era. You know, does that kind of make sense, Brad?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. It's a magical song, and you know, the lyrical content. If you really focus on that, even that just not alone, you could almost isolate the vocals without the music, and it's powerful.
Hey, Terry.
Sammy wrote the lyrics like in Zen moment on the beach, you know.
And that's the thing. It's got you know, stuff that is still relevant today. We should be living in the now. You know, you can't think too much about the future. You can't worry about the past. And I won't get too spiritual and hippie-ish at the moment because we're alive. But that's just the way. That's just the way things are in life. You've got to sometimes stay present in the present moment and not think about anything else. And that's why I said before, you could isolate the vocals alone and just listen to them, and they would be powerful enough without the music behind it. So well done, Sammy.
Yeah, this is Sammy's the best song he's ever written.
One of the best lyrical songs that he's definitely ever written, for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
And the music behind it's just magical as well. So it's next level. Next level.
And I know where you two stand, but to think that Ted Templeman and David Lee Roth denied this song. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It is. Definitely.
Yeah.
Good on Sammy for recognizing a monster.
Yeah, for sure. So we get into we're rounding third, heading home for the first half of the baseball game here. The ultra bass solo. I told you guys earlier in the show that I would have traded this song and Pleasure Dome for, let me check, Why Can't This Be Love and Won't Get Fooled Again. But I think Van Halen was at that point where they were trying to keep everyone happy. At this point, I don't know how many bands were doing drum solos and bass solos anymore, really, let alone guitar solos in the 90s, right? So I thought it was a little overdone, and they probably could have done without it. And for me, if you could put two more songs on the list, I would go for it. But Michael Anthony's pre-solo interview was actually done at his house. If you guys go back and watch the DVD, he had just built a new house and has a huge swimming pool with waterfalls and a big water slide. So he has like 2 or 3 water slides in his backyard, and in the interview was done right in front of his new water slide. So if you're wondering where he's at, that's in his backyard. But one thing I thought was cool about Micheal during this bass solo is he ran up and down the stage and really brought the energy, and the audience probably loved the fact that he brought that energy. I was pretty impressed with the way that he just like beat the shit out of his bass guitar, and got feedback up against the speaker cabinets, which I thought was kind of cool. But I guess it's an opportunity for him to shine. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I would skip it 9 out of 10 times.
It's debatable, this one, because I think it was really an amazing thing that Mikey stepped up and did a bass solo. You're talking about, he's a solid foundation guy. He was one of these guys. But what I loved about the solo, in my opinion, was the energy of Mikey comes through. He's a beautiful human, and he comes through in that. He has a character, and his character is really portrayed in it. Look, I sometimes skip it, but like today, for example, you put it on the DVD on, and you just let it play through, and it's got an energy. A lot of people probably opt to skip it, but I'm going to put it in the context of a live performance, right? You start off the show with all these bangers, you're going through, then all of a sudden, you start getting to the point of the band where Van Halen are notorious for playing solos, drum solos, guitar solos. So they give Mikey an opportunity, and Sammy has an opportunity to express himself as a vocalist as well. So in the context of the DVD, I gave it a 7, but I do skip it. Okay, but I have to give it a 7 out of 10 because I've ranked everything like 100 out of 10 almost at this point. So because it's got an energy, and God bless Michael Anthony. I think he deserves the recognition.
Yeah, and Brad, I look back at the Van Halen Encyclopedia. He did a bass solo in 88, 86, 84, 82, 81, 80, 79, 78. Like, I don't know. Like, there's a certain time he deserves his limelight, but
I think
selfishly, I would take 1 or 2 more songs.
Oh, definitely on a perspective of, like, I would love to hear those 2 songs you mentioned as well. But I think they wanted to present a live performance, and they included the solos there for reasons, because I don't think a lot of bands were doing solos like there were like Guns N' Roses and things like that. But
shows cohesiveness and the togetherness of a band, and equal.
It gave them an opportunity, and the other guys in the band, to walk off and probably stand side stage and have a few things and sip of a drink and enjoy the view and enjoy maybe give each other a high five and I do love when Alex comes back in and Ed comes back in with him, and that's magical, that moment to me. That's standout. And I've always put on Pleasure Dome, which we're coming up to, from this version as opposed to what's on Carnal Knowledge. I love it, that energy from which we'll get into. But Andrew, I've sort of stolen the limelight here. It's your turn to give Mikey props.
So I want you guys to watch what I'm doing here. So I'm just putting on my bass player's hat, and possessing a bass means that I have the default position of speaking for bass players, because I'm one of the secret guitar players that have always wanted to be a bass player. but I was either behind the beat or in front of the beat. I could never be on time, so that discounted me. So I could make up those lapses with guitar. Look, I've spoken to a lot of bass players, 4 bass players over the last couple of weeks, guys, in preparation for offering what bass players might give for this solo. So Dwayne Sutherland, who is a guy that I know very well, who plays in a lot of metal bands here in my hometown, who's been a bass player for 25 years, said that he studied this bass solo. So there was something in this solo apparently for bass players. So I think we have to, as Brad said, give Michael some credit, because I skipped it for a long time, guys. I skipped it for a long time. I'll put my finger up and admit to that. I agree with what the Reeve is saying. I would have loved to have had 2 other songs in spite of these solos, but I'm going to jump back onto Brad's camp and say, the charm, the greatness of this recording lies in the fact that they've included a couple of solos from these other band members. So from that perspective, because our rankings are always in account of the package, the DVD or the record. So I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. For all the de facto secret hiding bass players in the chat who don't have the courage to come out and say that you're bass players. I know there's a few of you, but I'm a closet bass player.
Oh, you
says
guys.
Brad. Oh, you bastard! You're a bloody closet bass player too.
I was gonna ask Andrew if you could redo the hat trick, and I could record it real quick with my phone.
No.
I want to give Diamond
No.
Diamond D. He's new to the show, but he actually said he loves the bass solo, and I like it too. And your opinion is welcome here. It's just a little overplayed for me. Like I was hoping for something else, but
I sometimes skip it still, but I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 in the context of the DVD. So and I think Brad said it too. The energy of Michael running up and down the stage. You got to give him 8 out of 10 for that.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys brought the basses out. I wish I could play one.
I'm a closet bass player. I'll admit it. I play bass. I play bass on my recordings, and what do you do?
I played bass one time in my brother's band because my other brother sang and my other brother played guitar, and I don't know how to do drums, so they gave me the bass, and I think they gave me two notes to play the whole time, and I did it fine.
Great.
So I've done it once.
Mate, that's the great thing about the bass. You can just hit the root notes, the root chords.
Oh, it's fun. It's a jive. Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad, I don't want you ever to give bass players shit again because I've got you on record, man, where you've given. I don't want.
But you know what? Brad has been on the Michael Anthony train tonight. He's had Michael Anthony's back since the beginning.
Yeah. I love Mikey. And
hey, Sonia.
I don't know if Simon Hosford's in the chat. We were having a discussion on the phone, I think last week. And, there's something about the whole Michael Anthony thing. And we both believe in our hearts and souls that, Mikey's playing on everything that apparently he's not on, and we want to believe that. And, there's just something magical about knowing Mikey's part of it for me. That's all. He was such a great human, amazing bass player, great vocalist. And I think he deserves the credit where credits to.
Everyone says he's the greatest rock and roll member out there. He's never said anything bad about anyone. He goes out, does his job, gives 110%. He excels. I mean, the guy can sing like no one's business. He hasn't aged. He's stuck by Van Halen. He's stuck by Sammy Hagar. Like, man, if I were to form a band, who wouldn't want him on your side? Like, seriously, the dude's he's 100% human. You know, he's a man's man.
I would love to have a guy like Michael Anthony playing in my band. You know, just an amazing player, great vocalist, a top human being, just an amazing human being.
I'd love to sit down and have some hot wings and a couple of cold beers with him and just let him talk.
Some of his hot sauce.
Yeah.
Let's get him on the show.
All right, I'll work on it. I think it'd be awesome. He was on Jeremy White's show. Yeah, I think he would. Well, let me work on it. I think it'd be awesome. He would be fun.
Yeah, Mikey's a top guy. We love you, Mikey. Let's get you on, mate. Yeah, Team Mikey. I've got your back, brother. I've got your back.
Yeah. All right,
guys. Where are we at? Because I'm completely lost on bass playing at the moment.
We're on the last song for side one. So, Pleasure Dome, which you briefly talked about a little bit before this one. 8 minutes of Alex hitting the drums and Eddie and Michael kicking in a little bit. For me, this is the true Brown sound. A lot of people think that the Brown sound is Eddie's guitar, but it's actually Alex's drums, the Brown sound.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy doing a little research on this DVD. This was the smallest set that Alex had live since the 78 tour. Did you guys know that?
No. I love his drum kit in this gig, by the way.
Yeah, he scaled it down to it says 6-piece drum set, but that must be just the pads. But down to one single bass drum, which he had played a double bass forever. So a single bass drum had the double pedal, which he was one of the first people to integrate the double pedal in the single bass drum on this tour. He actually liked the way that he had it simpler and he didn't have to think about what he was hitting, because the drum setup that he had live is normally what he plays in the studio. So if you think about a drum player, you know, they all pretty much have a simple drum setup in the studio, and then they go out and play live and their drum set's 3 times bigger than what it is live. So they kind of have to relearn the setup of the whole thing. But for him, he liked the simplicity of the drum set. He said he also liked the fact that he could see what was going on stage and out in the crowd, which before the drum kit would kind of, would cover up his vision. Let's see. The cool thing about his drum set, that after the solo, there was pyrotechnics, which Van Halen really wasn't that big into pyrotechnics, especially through the 80s and 90s. It wasn't a big thing, but they actually had it after his drum solo, and then, which we'll get to when we do the rest of the tracks, but they use it at the end of the show. But they use pyrotechnics at the end of his drum solo, and then his actual drum set went up 30 feet in the air on a accordion, like, I guess, riser. So towards the end of his drum solo, it slowly rose 30 feet above the stage. One thing I wanted to quote real quick, Brad, before I turned it over to you. In Alex's interview, he says, a quote from my father. He said, "Treat each night as if it was your last night, knowing that you're going to play forever. You live by the sword and you die by the sword." And he says, I guess what he's saying is, I'll be doing this forever until the cows come home, which I thought was a pretty cool saying, especially considering the situation we're in now where his younger brother has passed. and I don't think we're ever going to see Alex play again. So it was pretty surreal to hear him say that and know that he may be done. I would hate to see him hang up the sticks because I think he still has a lot in him. I mean, if you think about now, seriously, since we're dealing with what we dealt with this week with Charlie Watts passing, him being 80 years old, you know, I think Alex still has a lot in him. And I know he's never played with anyone else other than his brother. But Alex, if you're listening to this, we would love to see you do something else just out of the sheer fact that you're talented and we love what you do. And yeah, keep it going, man. If you feel like you need to do some recordings or do a cameo with someone or just get out and play, do it. Do what your heart tells you to do. But it's been a fun ride, man. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's lovely, man. I don't really know how to follow that, Kurt.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kurt. And, you know, I know he's like people like Steve Lukather has reached out to
yeah, he has.
To Alex. So all hope's not lost. We might hear something. Who knows? But we pray that we do.
Steve Lukather has he's playing with Ringo Starr. It's like, you know.
Yeah. Well, Steve Lukather, obviously, you know, Ed and him were very tight. So it would be nice to hear.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome.
Do something with other people just because he is so magical. But I think it would be hard for him to move forward without Ed. But
yeah.
Anyway, look, we pray we hear something from you, Alex, and you know, we hope you're well, mate. Pleasure Dome and the drum solo. For me, this is, I might upset some people here, but I think this drum solo is better than Live Without a Net drum solo.
I agree.
I prefer this solo. I love listening to this solo. You know, nothing wrong with Live Without a Net solo, but I think he's more refined on this. He's more structured. He knows what he wants to do in it a little bit better. He shows a little bit more finesse, and that's in all the songs of this era as well. He's got a little bit more finesse, in my opinion. Like the flamboyance is still there, but he's got a little bit more mature on the drums, and he knows what the dynamics and everything like that. So great solo. I love Pleasure Dome. I think this is my favorite version of Pleasure Dome, the way they do this. And I mean, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I'd give it a 10 out of 10, but I can't because of other songs. So a 9 out of 10. It's magical in the sense where he comes in at the tail end of, you know, Mikey's solo. When he comes in on the drums, that to me that's amazing. That's
perfect transition.
It's beautiful the way they work together, and that's why I still think Mikey's a big part of this. You know, if you listen to the recording and you watch that footage, that's Mikey, man. That's Mikey. So,
and I'm sorry I didn't give my rating, but I gave it a 9 out of 10 too. And there too, Brad, I forgot to say, but this originally, when they did this recording, it was a solo piece as well. It was just him and Eddie. Yeah. And last minute, they decided to add lyrics to it.
Isn't it funny, that story that that Alex used to go through all the jam tapes when they were like pre-production for Carnal Knowledge, and he'd sit back and listen to the night before's recordings that they did, just jamming. And he brought this riff up with Ed, and Ed couldn't remember it. He had to go back and play the recording for Ed to listen back to it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So good work there, Alex, to pick that up, because I think Alex was always good at picking out the magic. He would listen back and pick out the magic parts and go, "Hey, Ed, what was that thing you did?" And Ed would be like, "I don't know."
Yeah, and one thing too I want to say too about Alex is he probably doesn't get enough props, but he's sobered up after OU812, when his father died, when Jan Van Halen passed away. He told both of his boys that he didn't want them to go out the same way he did. And both Alex and Eddie told Jan that they're going to live longer than he did. And not to make this show a downer, but Eddie didn't make it. He fell short like 1 year. But Alex quit drinking from that day forward. And I think he probably struggled seeing his brother, especially his younger brother, deal with the stuff that he dealt with. And there was probably a few times where he wanted to wring Eddie's neck, but I read a interview where Alex said Eddie's time will come and he'll know when it's time for him to quit. And Eddie did eventually quit, in 2000, what was it? 2007, 2008, he finally did quit. But poor Alex, I'm sure he had some sleepless nights where he was worried about his brother, and he took the high road. And I think a lot of the band's movement and progression was due to him being level-headed and knowing what was going on, and being the elderly leader.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Andrew, it's your ranking, brother.
Yeah, we got deep. We got deep in this show, Brad.
We're D&M in a lot here.
Yeah, I know.
Look, I like the drum solo too. The stripped back drum kit is always a good rock and roll thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Charlie Watts did it, and it's really good to see the fact that Alex is enjoying that, relying on his ability as a drummer. Look, I'm not a drummer at all, but I appreciate, we've played in bands, haven't we, with other guys and other musicians, and we know when we have a good drummer and when there's someone that's just a fill-in or a beginner. Certainly Alex Van Halen is a monster drummer, and keep your fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen. We might, later on the 5150 show, deep dive with someone who is really good at Van Halen drumming and can go through all the intricacies of what it takes to be a Van Halen type drummer.
Yep.
It could be me. It could be me. I'm going to buy some bongos. Look, seriously, guys, I think the Rev pointing out the fact that they had a small kit, that was something that I was going to mention.
Oh, sorry.
It's a great thing. It's a good thing to see Alex there actually being part of the band. I like that. I don't like these Dream Theater drummers, what's his name? Mike Mangini.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and if you get that, that's great. But I'm a rock and roller, and I like to see the drummer being part of the band. It just gives that extra vibe. And that's what does it for me on this video. Just looking at it visually, it's always going to be an important.
It's about the sticks. It's not about the kit. It's about the sticks.
Yeah. It's always an important part for me. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 because you can appreciate what a drummer is doing, and it's mind blowing, isn't it, when you're not a drummer and you see this, and it's just great. And in the context of Eddie passing, it just adds more emotion. And I didn't skip it the 4 times that I watched it the last couple of weeks, but I have done in the past, guys. So I'm going to give it 9 out of 10.
That's great. So we're on par, sort of, there, which is great.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, what do you say we do a 2.0 on side 2 in a fortnight?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things here. I'm going to get you to... there's a couple of cats asking whether or not we're going to do a deep dive into some of the gear. So I don't know whether the Rev, Brad, and I want to incorporate that maybe in next week's show.
I'm taking note of it. I'll do 2 weeks worth of research.
Okay, so you've got it. So so we'll do a show, and the Rev will go through for you guys who've been asking very patiently and kindly, and that's what we're about. You ask, thou shalt receive.
We'll try.
Didn't always work for me. Bro. But
I found a website when we did the Live Without a Net show a couple weeks ago that had all Alex's drum kits from the beginning all the way to the last setup, and I think it'll be cool to show some of his earlier stuff to this one.
Yeah,
and really deep dive into what he was playing, and yeah, I think that'd be cool. And of course, Eddie's setup. I mean, how many guitars did Eddie play on this DVD? 2?
I think there's 2 plus the double neck
that's
memory.
it. I think just the double neck and the
amber and there was
he played a red one, right?
Yeah,
one
I think
song?
so. One song is a red one. Yeah, yeah. I can't remember which one is When It's Love. Maybe is it? I can't remember.
Side 2, he plays the red one. But yeah, we'll go into Eddie's setup with the peavey amps, and we have a few things on his rack setup, and maybe we'll deep dive into the couple basses that Alex plays. We'll go into Alex's drum kit since we've already done a deep dive on the background of this album. We'll go into the gear part of it next week before we go into the tracks. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for asking that question. We love doing that. That's what our show's about.
I love it.
Awesome. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. If you guys can share our channel. We've had a little bit of growth over the last couple of weeks, guys, and we really appreciate that. We know that all our friends and family of the show are doing the best they can to share our channel, but, you know, we're always going to ask. That's one thing that we're going to ask you guys to do. If you can hit the thumbs up, share this channel, and on the bottom there, you'll see a line of Instagram accounts. So I'm going to read them out for you. Simon Williams 33. Michael, who's a good friend of our channel. I happen to have Simon Hoss, Simon _Hosfords on there. Brad Cook Music, really, really easy. And also the Rev, he's easy peasy, Japanesey. He's Kurt S, 5150. Now, guys, go to the stories because anything that's going to be related to our channel here, 9 times out of 10 will be on the stories. So you have to deep into the Instagram accounts. They may not just put it on the instant posts. You got to go dig deep.
Yeah, and if you guys like Eddie's guitars and what he's played over the last 30 years, follow me, because how many posts do I do a week about Eddie's gear?
Pretty much daily.
Daily. And usually it's like 10 pictures a post. Like I probably push it further than I should. But guys, we've grown 12 subscribers since. When did you guys do your last show? When we had 666? Wednesday. We've grown 12 subscribers since Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
well.
good. And we appreciate that. We certainly do. And if you guys want us to push any of your social media accounts, either on the bottom there or attached to our videos or with Nightbot, because we have Nightbot set up here, message the Rev, message me, message Brad, and we'll do it. No strings attached.
Yeah, we're going to do some T-shirt giveaways. I'm going to give away a pedal here in before December, because we want to try to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I'm going to give away a pedal. I think Brad's going to try to give away a T-shirt. We got a bunch of 5150 show picks we're going to try to give away for little things here and there, but we really appreciate your guys' support. We want to get to a certain number so Brad and I can add to the show and help Andrew out, so he's not trying to do all this on his own.
Yeah, we need 1,000 subscribers, guys. Yep. We're getting close, you know. We need 1,000 subscribers. Your help is imperative, you know, for that growth. We need your help, so we appreciate every single one of you as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. So we're on tomorrow. Brad and I are on tomorrow with the Rock Professor. We're doing.
What are you guys doing?
Well, Brad can talk about that because it's his pick. So, but we're on with the Rock Professor. So come and hang out with us tomorrow. Brad, what are we doing?
Well, we were going to be doing Black Sabbath, and we decided in in sort of respect to Charlie Watts that we would do a Rolling Stones one instead, and so we've bumped we have bumped Black Sabbath guys for maybe the following week. So I apologize about that if you're looking forward to it, but we're still going to be doing it. But we're going to be doing It's Only Rock and Roll. So
cool.
Tomorrow. All right. So it's a good one. It's a bit of a, we're going to be on the, edge of our seats with that one because I haven't done a lot of prep for it because I've been prepping for the Sabbath one. But Andrew's a bit of an expert on this record. He's a massive, massive Stones fan. Simon is as well. So you're in great hands. You're in great hands. There's three of us that are going to be doing the best we can.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody. I'm going to ask Brad if he can pass on his last words. And then, as usual, when it's the 5150 show, the Rev's going to wind up. Bless you all with his knowledge and impact you with some wisdom so that you guys can go forth in the world of Van Halen and know a little bit more than what you did before the Rev was here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks to everyone for joining us. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Kurt. I love spending my Saturday afternoons with you guys here in Australia. And we love everyone in the chat equally. We've got a mutual respect for each other. We love this show. We just want to grow and keep doing the good stuff for you guys. It's a pleasure to spend time with everyone here, getting your comments in the chat. It really, really does go a long way. We talk about it offline. So we encourage everyone to get back into the chat. And thank you so much, guys. We're looking forward to, in a fortnight, doing part 2 of this show. Kurt.
Metal Mike from Texas, thank you so much for joining today. Sonia, always thank you for joining. Helen Winter, appreciate you jumping in as well. Grant Fisher, thank you so much. You've been very active in the chat, and we appreciate your comments. Ellen, for sure, always a staple. Appreciate it. Chris Hunter as well. Thank you so much for your comments. But before we do our next show, take a listen to this CDs if you have it, and listen to side 2 or watch the DVD. Spanked all the way to Top of the World. We'll do a deep dive in those. But if you guys are looking for a couple books to read, a must-have is Sammy Hagar's Red. This is a great book. He goes into his personal life and a lot of Van Halen. And then another one that I've been referencing quite a bit lately that has a lot of great facts is Martin Popoff's Unchained User's Van Halen Guide, which goes from the DLR era all the way through to Sammy Hagar and Gary Cherone. So as you guys know, I'm a huge studier, and I absorb everything Van Halen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we can't wait to see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
As Andrew slaps the bass.
It's been a bit of a love fest and a Mikey love fest and a bass fest.
I like it.
Yeah. Been good.
And drink Coke Zero. It's good for the soul. And
Coffee.
good.
Cheers, everybody. I've got a mouthful left.
And good good vibes to the folks down in New Zealand and Australia. I hope you guys get through what you guys are dealing with down there, and hope to get back to normal as soon as possible.
Thank you, brother. And another quick shout out to Warren.
Yeah,
another quick shout out to Warren. So all the best, brother.
Who's going to say goodbye to all the cats in the chat? Want to do a roll call before we go? Before we?
I just did it.
Yeah,
Did
you
ya?
just did it. Yeah.
Okay. See you, Sonia.
Oh, Robot Master Switch. He just jumped in. Go watch the show. We're just fishing up, buddy. So appreciate you, Robot.
Yeah.
Chris Hunter's from another Kiwi. I'm from Hamilton. Chris.
Yep. So
Awesome.
and I think I saw a message here. I can't see it now. Somewhere back. Just answering it. I've forgotten who it was, so my apologies. But yes, this is a fortnightly show. We're on fortnightly. Occasionally we do a midweeker in between, but you just got to subscribe and you'll get the notifications.
Awesome. All right. Let's go. Where are we? Where are we? There we are. Do you guys want to see these? Want to see those? Want to see that again?
Nope. Some poor chap has those that picked them up at Goodwill a couple weeks ago.
If you guys I'm gonna drop us out of the chat, guys, out of the screen, so you can get another look at them, and then we'll throw ourselves back in here, and then we'll do the outro video. Okay, hold on. What a man, what a man, what a mighty fine man. What a man, what a man, what a mighty fine man. Oh, I'm in trouble.
What goes around comes around. I don't get mad. I get even.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Oh,
I'm in
look
trouble.
at Andrew. You're in trouble
See you
now. You're in
Okay.
trouble, Andrew.
If I'm not here next week, you know why. See you later.
Oh.